Hi everyone, New York Times bestselling author Jamie Brumfield here, and escaping to the paranormal with me, or search for the truth one mystery at a time. And today I am actually going to do a really quick writer's tag, an author tube tag, and it's called Decade 20 Writer's Tag. It's a brand new tag that was actually developed and originated by Camille Myrick, and I'll go ahead and link up her channel as well as her video, the original video, so you can go ahead and access that. I'll include the questions in here as well in my video description, so you can go ahead and join in. And please check out her video, check out her channel, and then go ahead and do the tag. If you're an author and you want to go ahead and share your information, then there are people out there that want to hear it. So let's start out. The very first question is, what were your writing highlights from the past decade? Okay, so I did a lot over the past decade. I published my first book. I took a 3-year hiatus to raise my daughter. I published over 30 books in the last decade, and most of them are paranormal romance. Some of them are paranormal mystery, and then I've got some YA, young adults or new adult fantasy, sci-fi fiction, romance, that kind of thing. And then I've got a really fun little series called Ghost Connection that I do, where it's a medium who's in college who's actually helping people souls cross over. So that's a fun one too. It's called Ghost Connection. So we've got a lot of different books out there. I even got a romantic comedy, paranormal fantasy adventure romance, which is a lot of fun. But I'll talk about that in the near future. I also got the title of New York Times bestseller. So all of that happened in the last decade plus more. I learned that I went from a small press published author to a independent author business owner. So basically, as a independent author, you are your own business owner. You may be the writer, but you're also the marketer and all of that. You're also the person who helps design the book covers and things like that. So you're wearing a lot of hats, and you're basically running your own business. So I went from being published with a small press to being an independent author, small business owner, and I'm very proud of that. I'm glad I did that. There's nothing wrong with being a published small press author. I just prefer to do the work myself. So that is pretty much my accomplishments. Oh, and the greatest accomplishment that I had over the last decade in being an author is making all of my author connections, my colleagues, becoming connected with them and growing with them, and also my fans, you, those watching, you having that connection with you and being able to produce so many books and being able to have those great relationships that we've developed over the last decade, even though I took 3 years off, have been amazing. So those are my accomplishments for the last decade. Number 2, where are you currently in the writing process, and what projects are you starting the new decade working on? Okay, so my current writing process is I just came back from my hiatus. So I am working on Reverse Fire, which is the third book in my trilogy of the Dating a Werewolf series. And so basically that will end that series, and Reverse Fire is coming out in February. I'm also working on book 2 of the Demon Ascension series, which is a romantic comedy series. The first book in that series was Father Made Me Do It. So I'm working on that. I'm also working on adapting Father Made Me Do It into a film script for a potential project in the future, in the very near future. So I may be adding screenwriter to my credits of writing in the very near future. We shall see. But nothing has come out of that. I'm just basically working on writing that, and when contracts and everything go through, then I'll announce more on that and what that entails. So I don't want to go into too great a detail there until everything's finalized there. But yeah, so I am going ahead and working on that. And then I'm also doing of course, my authortube over at YouTube, my helping other authors or writers who want to become authors or people who want to be self-published, helping them on the Facebook page and the YouTube page. So that's part of my writing career as far as I'm concerned. I do feel like it is a calling for me to help others to be able to be a self-published author too. And so those of you watching this, that you find that helpful, give me a thumbs up for that. And all the books that I have coming out in the next year, I do want to really focus in on tying. I have 15 series out there. I'd like to tie up some of those series and kind of put those series to bed so I can focus on a few main series that I can do throughout the year, and then maybe add to those series if I need to in the near future. But for now, I'd really kind of like to bring myself down from 15 series to maybe 8 series. So kind of cut that in half this year, basically wrapping up those other series that are pretty much, 1 or 2 books away from being complete. So that's my goal in the next decade, is to get those series count down. It does, Vanessa. Really, it does. It is a very busy year, but thankfully this is I think they're wanting a decade. So so it's a decade. So I've got time. But yeah, it's a very busy year. So lots of stuff going on there. Thanks, Vanessa. So I've got that. And so I think that's about it. What I'm currently, my writing process and what projects I'm working on. So basically just if anybody wants to learn how to be a writer, author, or self-published author, then, this is a channel that's planning on helping people do that, as well as, writing my books and continuing to deliver for my fans. So I've got a lot going on, and it's going to be a fun decade. I really do feel that 2020 is going to be a fantastic year. And I do feel like there's a lot brewing. I think that things have just coming to, how when you got the water on the stove and it's just right there, ready to hit the boil point. I think we're getting there. And that's, the boil point is a good point for us. So I'm really excited about my author business in 2020. And I hope to take you all along with me on that road, so that you can be part of that journey. So thanks for being part of my journey, and thanks for being there for me, all of you. All right, number 3 is, how have your writing goals changed over the last 10 years? Okay, so my writing goals 10 years ago was just to get a book published. Then I started publishing, I couldn't stop, and I got 30 books later, I was like, oh, okay. So my writing goals over the last 10 years have changed a lot. I have done everything from short novels or short novellas to short novels, short stories, to full-length novels, to well over full-length novels. And so, and I've also written screenplays. I've also written plays. I've written murder mystery dinner kits that you can buy online on Amazon. So I've got those going. And then my writing process has changed also over the last decade to include writing for my writing nonfiction, as well as, writing helpful tips and tricks and video scripts for the YouTube channel or this channel. So that kind of thing. So it's adapted a lot, and there's a lot of things with all of those adaptations. One thing I do want to do in the next decade, and this will probably go in a different video that we'll talk to, but one thing I want to do for this channel starting in January is I want to read different writing craft books, or different self-publishing books, or different books that are going to help people to basically increase their skills as authors, and being independent authors who are business owners, or being independent authors who are, trying to query out, that kind of thing. So I want to increase those skill sets. Even though I have a lot of experience in this area, I still think things change all the time. And so, you can learn even when you're a master at something, right? So every month I'm going to read multiple books, and I want to share what I learned from those books on this channel and on the YouTube channel to see if maybe that can also help other people who may not have time to read them. I'm probably going to do audiobooks most of the time, because me, I like to do audiobooks instead of reading. But it's just something that I do want to do, and that's going to be a change in my writing process too, because hopefully it'll change different things as I'm writing and working on my stuff. So we shall see how that works. And then I also started doing a special on my YouTube channel. This isn't necessarily the writing process, but it kind of has a little bit to do with it because it's on my author channel on YouTube, and I've decided to start reading tarot cards as a thank you to my supporters. So I have a whole specific area on that YouTube channel that is just a playlist of tarot card readings that will hopefully help my supporters in different ways, and maybe find, great messages or things that they can use to move forward and different challenges that they're facing in their life. So I've added that to my author channel. I don't know if that necessarily counts into writing process, but I have thought about taking I do write for the Zodiac Shifter series, and I have thought about, I need to get a second book out. I've already contacted the Zodiac Shifter group, and I said I want to do a book for them this year. And probably to give Ariella's sister Annabella's sister a happy ending for her. But I was thinking about incorporating maybe some tarot draws in there as well as I'm writing it, and then having people, as they're joining me for those, and they're actually getting to come along on the process. Maybe every chapter I draw a tarot card and I try to embody that tarot card in that chapter or something. I haven't decided what I'm going to do, but I'm thinking I might incorporate that into the actual creation process of the book 2 in the Zodiac Shifters, which I thought would be kind of fun, and bringing you along on that journey with me. I thought, you might be interested in that. So let me know in the comment section if that's something you'd be interested in coming along with me on the journey. Okay, so number 4. Yeah, I think I'm on number 4. No, wait. No, I did. I talked about my writing goals over the last 10 years. I hope I did. I'm on live, so I can't really go back and check. But we're going to go on to... well, I have notes here. I didn't mention this. So on my writing goals over the last 10 years, I focus on paranormal romance first. Most of my fans know I did paranormal romance first, and then I went into paranormal mystery. And so that's kind of been the main focal point of my goals on how they've changed, but all the other things I just talked about too. So that kind of goes in there. Okay, so number 4 is, what's your 10-year plan? Boy, watching some of these live videos, you got to imagine the chaos in my head because I can't keep it straight. So if you can laugh with me on that, laugh in the comments section. Let me know if you find that funny. Sometimes I feel like I'm all over the place when I'm doing these live videos, but hey, at least you're seeing the real me, and it's not, at least it's real. So I guess it's kind of funny. Vanessa, thanks. Yeah, see, so you're talking about the Zodiac Shifters series and these tarot cards, combining the two. That sounds so very unique. Would be interested to see how it goes. Yeah, me too. I'm thinking I just want something different. And I think that adding that different layer might bring out something different into the story. I don't know. So we're going to see. We'll try it. So thanks, Vanessa. I really appreciate that. Okay, so number 4, what's your 10-year plan and where do you hope to be by 2030? Okay, so my 10-year plan, in 10 years, I'd like to have my series cut down a little bit. So basically finish off most of my series and cut it down to some base series. I would love to see PBI Case Files made into a television series. That would be like a dream come true. And I'd love to be one of the writers on that writing team, seeing how I created the series. But so that would be an ultimate goal for me, is to see that become an actual TV series. I mean, that would just be... It's been a dream of mine since I started it, because I wrote the Paranormal Bureau of Investigation series like a television series. So each episode is written like a television series, specifically for that reason, so I could easily adapt it into a script for a TV show if ever the opportunity presented itself. So that would be my ultimate goal by 2030. But basically, my main goals are getting my series count down so that, there's closure for fans, and helping others who want to become writers. I mean, that's really my goals over the next decade. Maybe it'll change as we continue to work through, but that's where I'm going. That's where I'm heading. All right, so number 5. What will history books say about writing, publishing, and books from the 2020s? I think the history books are going to say that the 2020s are when the independent authors will hit full steam. I think there's been, over the last decade, we basically have grown as a community, and I think we have definitely won a spot in the heart of our fans as independent authors. I remember when I first started writing independent, as an independent author, I remember that there was almost a bit of a stigma attached to being an independent author, even though I was published with a small press. And so I felt, hey, this is great. I'm published with a small press. But I do remember feeling like there was almost a little bit of a stigma for independent authors. And I was also independent at the time. So I was hybrid. So I had one series with a small press, and my other series I was writing were independent. And I do remember that, when I first started out writing as an independent author, I would be like, oh yeah, I'm a hybrid author. I do independent, and I do, and I publish through a small press. And people are like, I do remember getting that feeling like, oh, you're an independent author. Oh, okay. But now it's changed, I think. Since I've come back from my hiatus, I think that's changed a lot. And I think that has to do with a lot of, the real dedication of the independent authors in the community. I mean, there is a community around the authors in the independent world, and we hold ourselves to a very high standard. And, whenever we're talking to people, or whenever we're helping people, or whatever, we always say, hey, make sure, you put out the best quality books that you can put out. Make sure you're editing them. You're having an editor work on them. You've got, we really do put out, we try really hard as a community. Yes, there's always going to be good and bad in any community, but we try really hard to have broken through that stigma, I think, over the last 10 years. And I hope nobody takes offense to this, because I'm not saying this in a mean way at all. I just do remember feeling like there was that, oh, you're an independent author kind of thing. I mean, I do remember that when I would talk to people at book fairs and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm an independent author and I work really hard. I do everything. But now I don't feel that like I have to be, like I have to defend myself for making that choice. I feel that there were a lot of published authors that went into indie over the last decade, and they've actually said, hey, there's nothing wrong with being published, but there are, I'm making more money this way, or, I'm happier this way. And they made those announcements out to the public, and they let people know that. And I think that helped us. And then we continue to grow momentum, and we work together really well as a team. For the most part, of course, there's always good and bad in any kind of community, but from my experience as an independent author, there's always been a really great level of pride from all my independent author friends. We have a really great level of pride that we do the best we can do, and we put out great product, and our fans are raving mad. I mean, they're wonderful. They're amazing to us. And we build such a great fan base, and they're always there to support us, and they're so amazing. And my gosh, my fans have always been so amazing. They're part of the reason why I came back so early. I have a 3-year-old daughter. It took 7 years to make. And so I was spending every minute I could with her because I wanted to raise her. But then I'd be getting emails, hey, we really want this next book. We really want this next book. How's it coming along? And I'd be like, I really have to get back to work, because they wanted me back too. It wasn't just that I needed to get back to work. It was that my fans were motivating me back, and it was amazing. It was beautiful. So I think in the 20s, I think any kind of trace of that's going to be gone. I think that there is really going to be even more of an explosion of independent authors. And I think, and I'm hoping, maybe this is hope, but I hope that as a group that we just build ourselves into a really strong community, so we can provide the best to our audience and to our fans, and we can be there to support our audience and fans. And I think that we've really started that momentum. I think it's going to continue to grow in 2020. So that's my thing about what will the history books say about writing, publishing, and books from the 2020s. I think the 2020s is the independent author's game. I think that there's been a lot of work that independent authors have done to make sure that we present amazing stuff, that we've built our fan base. And I think that it's there. And I think that it's just going to continue. Do I think that there's going to be any issue with publishing? No, I think publishing is going to continue on, and there is a spot for it. People love books that are formatted a certain way, and most publishing houses look for a specific formula for their books, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And so I think that there will continue to be an audience for the published books as well. But I do think that independent or self-published authors will really shine in the 20s, and I think they'll just continue to grow. So that's just my take on it. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen in the next 10 years over writing in the industry? What do you think? I'd love to hear what you think, what you see as the trends are, and kind of get your feel for it. That would be really interesting. So please let me know in the comment section. All right, so the next question is, I just read that. What genre will rule the 20s? This is what happens when you go live. That's what happens when you go live. And cut, I'm back. All right, so what genre will rule the 20s? I think sci-fi is going to be a big sci-fi romance, because romance has always been a huge hit with fans. Wouldn't you agree? Wouldn't you agree that romance has always been a huge hit with fans? And I know paranormal romance has really been amazing in the 2010s, but I think in the 2020s, I think sci-fi romance or sci-fi and sci-fi romance is really going to explode. And here's why. I think that technology is just changing so fast around us that to keep it as sci-fi, we have to continue to produce those books and get that information out there, because the world is changing. I mean, they're not saying there's life on Mars, but they are saying that there's a possibility of life on Mars. There are just so many things that we've always believed that were not true, and that could have been considered science fiction, that are now starting to come out as like, oh, this might be a reality. I mean, look at all the stuff that was released to MUFON, the UFO database that was released from the government. I mean, there's just so many things that are being released that we're finding out about, that I think sci-fi is really going to explode in the 20s. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think is going to explode in the 20s? Fantasy seems to be hitting a good stride too. I just watched The Witcher, the season 1 of The Witcher on Netflix. I'm going to do a review on it. I'm still processing and marinating the season. Amazing. I mean, amazing series. But there's so many. I mean, I just think that sci-fi and fantasy, and of course, romance will always hold a strong spot for people. And, there is just a cult following for paranormal romance. So I think that there's a place for that too in the 2020s. All right, so number 7's question: how will publishing and the writing community change? I think I pretty much addressed that earlier when I said that I think publishing and independent authors are going to kind of explode in 2020. So I think that pretty much answered that. I think that's the only piece, the writing community. I think we'll just continue to grow stronger together and help each other. And that's what I hope is going to happen in the 20s. So yeah, I think that that's kind of the changes that are coming up. Sorry. So, oh my gosh, my throat is so dry from talking too much. Sorry. So what do you guys think in the comment section? I'd love to hear. Let me know. Number 8, what genre tropes are making a comeback? Fantasy is making a comeback. I don't know if it's because Game of Thrones ended and now there's like a hole there that people need to see. But I do think that fantasy is taking a bigger stride. Also, dystopian YA and new adult dystopians were really popular for a while, and then all of a sudden they kind of dropped off. And I do think those are going to come back too. So I do think that those two probably could hit the market. What do you think? What are you wanting to see come back? Something that hasn't been very popular, but you want to see come back. I'd love to know that too, because that's what, if I find out my fans want to see a certain type of book that I can write in, then I might just have to do a book for you. So I'd love to hear what you think, what you'd like to see come back if you want to see something come back more. All right, so number 9, something new to try. I challenge myself to, can you tell I didn't read these before? I skimmed through the list, but I didn't read them and dissect them and come up with answers before this. So something new to try. I challenge myself to, you know what? I challenge myself to write either a contemporary romance in 2020s with no paranormal aspects whatsoever. Now that's gonna be a challenge for me, because if you read my books, you know I don't write that. Or I challenge myself to write a fantasy. Yeah, a fantasy, medieval fantasy. Maybe something with witchcraft and Merlin or something like that. I don't really write that either. So those would be, and then the third challenge I really want to do a choose your own adventure book. So I'm thinking that would be a third challenge for me for the 2020s. So those are all things I haven't done. And so if I'm going to try something new, it would probably be those 3 things. So be on the lookout for maybe something like that coming, because when I give myself a challenge, I got to do it. Okay, so number 10. A bad habit you'll kick. Okay. A bad habit that I'll kick in 2020s. That's from 2020 to 2029. A bad habit that I'm going to kick. A bad habit that I need to kick is probably, I pretty much kicked that too. I'll come back to that one. Let me think about that one. Okay, so number 11, favorite books from the 2010s. Oh my gosh. That would get me in so much trouble, because I have so many author friends and I have so many favorite books. There's just no way I could list them all. But tell me in the comment section, what are your favorite books for the 2010s? I would love to hear about that. I could just name off favorite authors, but then I'd feel bad that I didn't name all of the authors that are my favorites either. So I just feel like I'm going to pass on that question because that could wind up being an hour-long video. And so if I had to pick a favorite, then I'm just going to give a shout out to my crazy lady author friends. And you know who you are. Because not only have you been amazing authors and amazing supporters, but you've been amazing friends to me. And so, that has a lot to do with everything. But my crazy lady author friends, even though we, you all know who you are. And then of course I have, of course, my author friends from the Wolf Pack as well. I'd be remiss in not mentioning them in their books. And so really the Wolf Pack and my crazy lady author friends. And even though 2010 is ending and I just joined authortube, I met some really cool authors in the authortube community as well. So I want to give a shout out to them too. And you know who you are too, because you guys are pretty cool and we've connected on different levels. So I appreciate that. So I think that would be my safest way not to skip it, but to tell you I'm picking authors because I know a lot of authors and I love their books. We just connect on that level. So it's really great. So I guess I would say that. And then if I had to pick one that is not a friend, but somebody that I have high respect for, it would probably be James Patterson, Sherilyn Kenyon, who actually inspired me to write paranormal in the first place. So Sherilyn Kenyon, thank you for that. I know I'm not going to get everybody, and that's just so wrong of me. But Sherilyn Kenyon, Katie McGrath, I think it was. Katie McGrath. James Patterson, I'm coming to blank. But basically, yeah. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna leave it there. That would be my favorite. Yeah. All right. So the next question would be number 12 would be shout out some author friends who will make it big in the next 10 years. Okay, I just did that. So, um, oh gosh, oh my gosh. There's so many of you that are so amazing. No, I can't answer that question either because there's so many of you that deserve, or that are so amazing and you deserve to make it big. And so, how about I just leave it at this? Every single person that's been on Author Chat on my channel is amazing and definitely should be should shine. That's from P.T. Macias to Michelle Fox to Michelle Gwynn to Elle Boone, Julia Mills. Oh, Melanie James hasn't yet, but Melanie James, amazing. Gosh, there's so many out there. I please don't hate me for not mentioning everybody, but that's just some. Yeah, so there's a lot. There's a lot that just read their books. It's just so amazing, and I hope it. Oh, Teresa Crater, I just met her the other day on Author Chat. Amazing lady. So yeah, so in CJ Daily. Oh my gosh, that book is amazing. So check that out. So yeah, there's a lot of really great authors that I'd love to see make it huge in the next 10 years. So writing advice that will die. I think writing advice that will die is going to be I think people are just going to get tired of the whole pantsing and outlining thing, but it's been going around for a while, so that will probably die because really your process. I think the writing advice that's going to die is that it has to be one way or another for processes because authors are creative, and so it's not one way or the other. I think that it's important to distinguish that. You find what works for you and you just adapt it. So I think that those absolute statements of this is my way and this is the right way kind of thing, I think that writing advice needs to go. The writing advice that, leaves it open to saying, hey, here's what I do, but pick what works for you is the perfect kind of writing advice, I think, because nobody is a creative outlet. So I think that would probably be the biggest thing because most writing advice that I've found is about the same. Yeah, that's about it, I would say. Number 14, in a perfect world, what would you like to see happen in the 20s? Okay, in the 2020s, in the perfect world, I would like to see you know what I'd like to see in the 2020s, and I think this is pretty cool. There was this book probably 5 years ago that came out, and I really loved it. And it had to be read on Kindle, and it had to be read on one of the newer models of Kindles because it had moving pictures in there. So you had the story all written, and then all of a sudden there were moving pictures to kind of accentuate what the story was actually being told. And I would like to see that in the 2020s to become more common for books and authors. And I'm sure there's so much that goes into that. But if you remember what book that was, it was a fairy tale princess story. And I can't for the life of me remember the name of the story. It was published by a large press. And basically what they did was they wrote chapters and then they inserted pictures that actually move. So as you're going through the book, your eyes get pulled over to the picture so you can kind of see it playing out like a tiny little mini movie or a GIF. And then it goes back to the story and then you kind of go back and forth. So you got those two. I'd like to see that play out in 2020 as far as more so in books. I don't know. My indie author friends might hate me for saying that because I don't know what kind of work would have to go into creating a book that includes those kind of moving pictures. But I'm thinking it would just be finding the pictures and licensing them because the gifts are out there. And I mean, I can't see it being too difficult with PDFs and stuff. So, and how we download. So I don't know, it'd be interesting, but I would like to see more of that. In a perfect world, that what I like to see in the 20s is see that come out and become more popular. And then new decade resolutions. Wow. So decade resolutions, like I mentioned earlier, I'd love to see Paranormal Bureau of Investigation get optioned for a TV series. That would be a decade resolution. That would be amazing. Close out some of my series that need to be closed out. And just keep writing like I used to. I would love to see that. And maybe start, helping on a more broader level with authors. I mean, really, it's about, that's right now, that's my main goals is those three things. So I don't think there's anything that changes as far as the resolutions go. And back to number 10, because that was the end, 15 questions. Back to number 10, a bad habit that you'll kick. A bad habit I think I want to kick this year in the 2020s is I sit too much. And I'm trying to kick that. But I sit too much. I don't get enough exercise. So those are the two things that I'd like to see change for me. I'd like to see me do more. Maybe I was thinking, I was in the shower. Okay, I was in the shower. And I was thinking the other day as I was getting ready to go on and do a writing sprint, I was thinking, oh, I wonder if everybody would like to do like Tabata sprints in between the writing sprints. So we're all writing for 15 minutes and then we stop and we do like a 10-minute mass exercise routine that we all do either on camera or off camera, whatever you guys want to do, to get our heart rate back up. And then we sit down and we write again. Because I think that the adrenaline, the endorphins, and everything that flow through our body would just really just onto the page. And as we're writing, I think it would make us more creative. So I was thinking I was going to propose that in my next writing sprint video to see if anybody would be interested in doing that. So yeah, the bad habits that I like to kick is I'd like to stop sitting so much and I'd like to do a little bit more exercise. I seem to get a lot less exercise these days. All right. So that is it for me today. What are your answers to these questions? Some of these, even if you're not writing or you're not working on a book or anything like that, there are some of these questions that you can answer just from a fan base perspective. And so I would love to hear your opinion. So I will link up the 15 questions in the video description. And if you feel like answering any of them, let me know in the comment section. Answer them and let me know in the comment section. I will definitely peek back and look. And you do, Vanessa? Do you love that idea? Because, doesn't that sound like the endorphins in your mind would just be so hyperactive? Like, I think we could be even more productive when we get back to our next writing sprint. So I don't know. I'm going to bring that up in our next writing sprint and see if people want to do that. But okay, so thanks, Vanessa. So yes, I'm going to post these 15 questions in the video description, and I would love to hear your opinion. From either a writer's perspective, an author's perspective, or a fan's perspective. Either one. All three opinions are super important. We are a cohesive group. If without our fans, then we wouldn't be writing or we wouldn't be authors, right? So I think it's really great to get our fans' perspective as well as the writer's perspective. So I'm going to post this, and then if you would like to answer any of these questions from either perspective, please do in the comment section. And that would be great. You are so right. Like the books would be so fast paced, but that's the kind of book I like to write. I like to write those books that, every page you're turning, you're like, okay, I got another chapter. I got to stay up for another chapter. Those are the kind of books I like to write. So for me, it would be conducive to my writing, but some people might not enjoy that. I don't know. I think it would be fun to do that even once a week, just like get our heart rate up and write and see what happens, because I think that it would be amazing. So we might try that on this channel. Woohoo! All right. So Camille, Marek, you actually helped me talk about an idea that I've been marinating on for a while. So thanks for that. I really appreciate it. So I'll link up her video for this original tag because this was her idea. I thought it was great. And so check out her channel as well. And please Let me know in the comment section. I want to hear your opinion. I want to know what you think from either perspective on these 15 questions. What would you like to see in the publishing industry or the self-publishing industry in the 20s? I mean, there's a lot of books. What were your favorite books from the 2010s? What bad habit would you like to kick? That's, perfectly can be answered by anyone. What genre will rule in the 20s? What would you like to see rule in the 20s? So all of these can be answered from either perspective. So I would love to hear your opinions in the comment section, and I will be checking back and responding back. All right, so Vanessa, thanks for hanging out with me for the last almost 40 minutes. I'm sorry this video ran a little long. I can be long-winded. But thanks for hanging out with me and commenting and engaging in the chat with me. That was really awesome. I love to have that back and forth conversation on all my videos. That's why I go live. I wouldn't go live if I didn't want that. So that's the whole reason why I do it. And so it means a lot to me. So thanks for engaging with me and coming on screen with me, even in the chat, coming on screen with me and being part of this video and the conversation that was happening. So I really appreciate that. All right, so everyone, I'm going to say goodbye because 40 minutes is a long video. And I am going to say thanks so much for tuning in. New York Times bestselling author Jamie Brumfield, thanks for escaping in the paranormal with me and searching for the truth one mystery at a time. I sure do appreciate it. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.